Hello, fellow gear fans. My name is Dan, and we're taking a look at the UAD Neve 1073. This has become probably my favorite EQ, just because of its simplicity and because of its usefulness. Now, when I first like to show you guys these plugins, I kind of like to approach them like how I approached them the first time. Whenever I get a new plugin, I'm always in the middle of things, and the first thing I do is in this case EQ. The first thing I do with EQ is just strap it across the master bus of the current project I'm working on and see what it does. So few things to know about this EQ. It's laid out a little differently. The high frequency stuff is on the left, whereas you might expect to see high frequency stuff on the right. So this is a high frequency shelf. It's 3-band EQ, high frequency shelf on the left. On a console you'd probably see it on the top, but this is supposed to be rack gear, I guess. But it is on the left, and that's kind of weird to me. But we forged through. There's a mid-band bump or a bell with a fixed Q, and a low shelf as well. The high shelf has a fixed frequency. Low shelf you can move around, and that's via this switch on the outside. It's kind of hard to use, and in this case I have it set so that it moves with up and down movement instead of left and right. Also, another weird thing about the EQ is that midpoint is straight down for these knobs. Up is to the left or clockwise. Minus is to the right. So that's also something to keep in mind. Included is also a low cut or high pass filter, and that's just at these different frequencies switched. Also a phase button, kind of nice, and an EQ defeat. So when that's out, it's off. But once again, despite its strangeness and sort of, I don't know, it does have a bit of a learning curve, I guess, just because of how things are laid out. It has become one of my favorite EQs because of how powerful it is. I don't always strap it across master bus. I usually don't, actually. I kind of like this on individual ones, but it does take a good amount of the DSP power of the cards, so I kind of like to limit it. It's unfortunate that we have to limit the things we like the best, but whatever. We forge ahead. So the first thing that I really like to show you about this EQ, even though it's a plugin, I'd like to show you how well boosting high frequencies, how well it does that. So here's our track. Now I'm just going to boost the high shelf. Now, just for the sake of testing it out, I'm going to mute one of our guitar tracks. That's a really twangy one. That was getting a little much when we were turning it up. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back up. And we just hear pure cymbals. Most EQs start to not sound all that great when you're boosting up all the way, and there we're actually clipping, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that down. Turn it up all the way. That's a very smooth high end. Could have something to do with just the digital modeling. It could have something to do with the fixed frequency. Let's listen to some cutting. And you just see how powerful this EQ is. From null point to negative is just, it's still a nice sound, but very, very different. So let's check out our mid bump. The different settings are, here it says 0.2 or, sorry, I had to get closer to the screen to see that, 0.36 or 3.5. It's very small print. I'm having a hard time looking at it. I'm sure you can't even see it. I'm going to go ahead and bump that up, bring down our trim a little bit. And actually, we can also turn down our overall level right here. This is the input of the plugin. So if we boost that up, I'm going to go ahead and sweep through the different frequencies that the bump can do. That's 700 hertz right there. And normally that would sound, I don't know, on most EQs I don't think that sound is good. This is 1.4. This is one of my least favorite frequencies. But can't say it sounds entirely terrible. That might be good for like a source music in a sound design. Here's 3.2K. Boosted. I believe that's 4.8K and 7.2. Now again, we're boosting some very trebly frequencies, and digital EQs normally suck at that, and this one definitely doesn't suck at that, I would say. So let's just cut. We're just going through these. This is cutting at 7.2K. A little more makeup gain there since we're cutting so harshly. Just kind of move the gain around. 4.8. .2. Said it was 1.4 before. I believe that's 1.6 actually. You just hear how powerful and for, I guess the whole thing is that for someone like me who's used to using plug-in EQs, to find an EQ plugin that closely approximates what you'd get on a nice hardware EQ is something else. And so let's just turn off this bump or the bell and go back to testing out just go to testing out our low shelf. Now, of course, I'm gonna do the boost first, so I'm gonna raise it slowly at the bottom frequency. This is at 35. I'm gonna cut a little bit of our signal as we boost. So that's really bringing out our kick drum. And maybe at this setting, I'd want to start using the filter to filter out any extra junk. Filter smooth. Let's check the next frequency. Really bringing out our kick. $110. $220. That's as high as that one goes. Let's start to cut it. Just doing a bandpass filter on the type sound. Even though they're not filters, they're shelves, but you kind of get that. Again, I'm just doing this to sort of illustrate how big of a difference you can get with these. But for some reason, it doesn't sound horrible. Very, very effective EQ. Alright, we already kind of checked out the filter. It's at 300, 150 I believe, or 160, 80 or 90, and 50. Of course, phase flop's really not going to do anything as we're using it on program material. So that's a glance at the UAD Neve 1073. Sort of become, when I really need to shape a sound, this has become my go-to plugin. It's sort of EQ that you don't have to be afraid of in plugin form, and I really like it for that fact. So thanks for checking out this video, and keep on checking out more.